welcome, Pam. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, Pam, how long have you been involved with the background screening industry?
It's been almost, let's see here, about 13 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your firm actually probably under your leadership was one of the first firms, legal firms, to really kind of get involved with this industry. What was the stimulus of that kind of made you think, hey, I ought to get involved with this industry?
It's actually a really interesting story. Back in early 2003, we had a client who was involved in the industry and had gone to conferences down in Clearwater and said, you know, you might want to get involved in this industry. There's a brand new association that's being formed. And that was about 2 weeks before the Scottsdale conference. So we had just completed a 50-state survey. And at that point in time, I had a partner at the firm, and he and I decided to hop on a plane, and we got a booth and exhibited at the first annual NAPBS conference in Scottsdale in 2003. And sort of the rest is history.
How about that? That's very interesting. So at this conference, I know you've done some presentations. What have you really talked about and focused on?
So I've given 3 presentations at this conference. The first relates to hot topics in employment screening issues and tenant screening issues as it relates to mitigating your risk as a consumer reporting agency. We talked about 10 or so different issues that CRAs are really facing currently. And later this afternoon, I'm going to be giving conversations and some topics on issues relating to compliance, sort of soup to nuts, if you will, of a CRA's compliance responsibilities.
Okay, good. So from a legal perspective, what are some of the challenges that you see this industry really faces?
The amount of class action litigation is increasing tenfold, like nothing else before, both for CRAs as well as the end users. So I think those are the biggest challenges. And the question is, how do you comply with running your business, but also the myriad of different state and federal laws that you need to comply with, not the least of which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Absolutely. Now, does that equally impact end users as it does CRAs?
Absolutely, and the reason being is because there's separate and distinct responsibilities that a CRA has under the Act versus what an end user has under the Act. And for worse, frankly, both entities are being sued at a catastrophic rate right now.
What advice might you offer to CRAs to kind of better shore up their processes to avoid these FCRA lawsuits? I mean, what's your suggestion?
My suggestion is to make sure that you have policies and procedures in place that are written, that you train your employees, and frankly that you do a compliance audit, either an internal or an external audit, so that they can understand really sort of from onboarding a new client all the way to processing a consumer report, then into the dispute process, et cetera, where your compliance risks are, so that you can really shore up those processes.
Excellent. Now, any different advice that you might offer to an end user in terms of what they should do?
Sure. I would say work with a background screening partner who's committed to compliance, and make sure that you get good legal counsel, again, either internal or external, that knows what's happening, keep abreast of the changing areas of the law, and make sure that you get a variety of sources so that you can be on top of the different trends.
Okay, and let me ask you my favorite question.
Okay.
Kind of knowing what you know, having been involved with this industry, what do you see coming down the road, 5, 10 years that this industry will be dealing with?
I don't have a crystal ball, but if I did, I would say things that might likely be on the horizon are issues related to drug testing. I think that the plaintiff's bar, luckily, has not really revealed any of those issues, so that's one thing. I also think that the industry may change in terms of consolidation. There's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions. I think there was a lot. It slowed down, and I think that's maybe the wave of the future. The other thing is that the FTC is really looking at big data companies, and I do think that there's a chance that they may tap into the fact that we are all data providers in this industry, and hopefully we won't all be lumped in that term that sometimes is derogatory of big data, but that remains to be seen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pam.
You're welcome, Barry.